Hi everyone. Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening,
I
guys.
got
Good evening.
yeah.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening everyone. Please mute yourself. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Yeah. We are going to start soon. Hi Rahul, good evening.
Good evening, Shifali. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So we will wait for a few more minutes and then we'll start.
Yeah. If you have some group where you can contact with other batchmates, so please inform them to join fast. And your attendance would be monitored. So we are going to maintain attendance sheet every time. So I hope everyone has accepted the invitation on Amazon Chime, also on the Canvas, and you must be having access to your Canvas modules starting from module 1. I hope everybody has successfully logged into the Canvas and could able to access the content. You must have some prerequisites there, like I think some survey and all, which you have to complete before it unlocks the module for you. So please make sure you are checking it, your Canvas, and then uh, you should have access to your content. Course coordinator, I'm not sure the name of course coordinator.
It's Tanya, ma'am.
Tanya. Okay, okay. Fine. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, good evening,
Good evening.
Shivani.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Tanya, like
yeah.
maximum how many learners are there? Like already I can see around 17,
20.
18. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at them only. I'm just confirming who is yet to join the session. Just
Okay.
texting them only.
Okay, sure. We can wait
Yeah.
for 2 more minutes
Yeah.
and
Just
then,
2 minutes
yeah.
would be sufficient.
Okay. Sure, no worries.
Okay, so I think we can start now.
Yeah, Rahul, good time to start.
Okay. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone and I'm loud and clear.
Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay, so there is one question regarding the recording of the session. So as per AWS policy, we are not supposed to record these sessions. Again, the webinar topics that we are going to cover, already a lot of content is included in the Canvas. So you are going to refer the Canvas material for this. So here we are going to do a quick introduction to the services that you are going to learn in week one. Again, there are some demos also planned for this. So, as per the policy, we are not supposed to record this session. And there is a lot of content that you can refer onto the Canvas. There are recorded videos that are available that you can go through. And then for a hands-on practice, you can follow up the labs. Again, there are some labs which are graded. So you are supposed to get the passing score to move forward. So this is the answer to the question. Now let me go to the screen. So first of all, yeah, first of all, I will turn off my camera so that my voice is loud and clear. So welcome to week one webinar. And the topics that we are going to cover in week one. So we are going to learn about the core AWS services. Okay. And in this core AWS services, we are going to talk about VPC, that is a virtual private cloud. Okay. What is the need of VPC and how you are going to create a VPC, how you are going to configure a VPC. And then EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage. So what is the purpose of EBS, how you can use EBS, and what are the different variants, varieties that are available in EBS that we can use, and how to access these EBS. Okay, so this is something that we are going to discuss. And then after that, we are going to see EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud. Again, how to create a web server. And in a demo, we are going to talk about how to create a Windows web server. Okay, so this is something that we are going to discuss in EC2 section. And lastly, we are going to talk about S3, that is simple storage service. So these are the services that we are going to cover in our today's webinar. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. First, we are going to discuss, we are going to do a quick introduction to Amazon VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, and there is a demo that is scheduled how to create a VPC. So again, there are two ways. One way is you can manually configure each component of the VPC, and the other one is like you can use the automated setup that is available, VPC and more. So we are going to see that one today as well. And then we are going to talk about EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage. Again, EBS is something that you can consider as a hard disk drive of your EC2 instance. Okay, so like in our desktop, our laptops, we have hard drive. So similarly, EBS is something that can be considered as an hard drive for our EC2 instance, but it is in the network. So we can call it as a network drive. Okay, so we are going to talk about EBS and what are the different options that are available in EBS. And then we will talk about Elastic Compute Cloud EC2, how to launch in EC2, what are the different pricing options that are available with EC2, what are the different EC2 instance type that are available. So this is something that we are going to see. And then we will do a step-by-step demo on launching an EC2 instance. And the instance that we are going to launch will be in Windows AMI, and we are going to create a web server. So we are going to install a Windows web server, and then we will access this web server. And lastly, we are going to create a simple storage service S3 bucket. So we are going to make this bucket public, and then we are going to upload a file on this bucket, and then we'll share this file with all the learners. So these are the topics that we are going to cover in today's webinar. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Rahul Patel. I'm working as an AWS trainer. I'm AWS Authorized Instructor AI. So these are my certification that I hold right now. These are my active certification. And I do trainings for architecting on AWS, developing on AWS, cloud practitioner, technical essential. Apart from this, I'm also doing AWS Restart training. So I'm also AWS Restart accredited instructor and AWS Academy educator. So this is about me. So let's start with the first topic. And the first topic that we are going to see is Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. So here is the definition or quick introduction of Amazon VPC. Okay, so VPC is something that you can consider as a logical data center in AWS. Okay, so I hope all of you are aware of data center. So again, if you want to have a logical data center on AWS platform, so you can create your own custom VPC. So first of all, let me ask you a question: why we need virtual private cloud? Can we access or can we use services of AWS without VPC, or we have to create a VPC?
So without VPC, you cannot access actually create any instance, but everything is inside VPC. We have to create in AWS
Everything is
inside
inside
VPC
VPC.
only. Yes,
Okay.
AWS.
So when we use or when we create an S3 bucket, so do we have to create an VPC?
Actually, no. In that, don't have to actually create VPC.
So in that case, like we don't require VPC in every case.
Yeah, yeah. In
Okay.
every case, we don't
So
require actually.
yeah. So S3 is a serverless service. Okay. S3 is a serverless service. That means the services that are come under the category of serverless, they are managed service. Okay. So AWS will take care of the underlying infrastructure in that case. So in case of S3, we are not supposed to create VPC. AWS will take care of all the underlying infrastructure. But if I am going to create an EC2 instance, okay, so in that case, I have to create and configure a VPC first, and then I can launch my EC2 instance in that VPC. Okay, so one option is I can create and configure my own custom VPC, and another option is we can use a default VPC. So AWS has created a default VPC in every AWS region for every AWS account. Okay. So when you go to AWS Management Console and when you see a particular region, okay, and in that region, if you select VPC, so a default VPC is already created and configured. So as a user, without creating and configuring a VPC, you can use this default VPC and you can start working in this default VPC. But as a best practice, AWS suggests that you should create and configure your custom VPC to have better control over your resources so that you can configure your CIDR range. You can select your CIDR range. Okay, you can configure your security settings. So that is the reason why AWS suggests that you should create your own custom VPC and then you can launch your resources in that VPC. Okay, so here you can see that when you create your VPC, okay, so it enable you to launch your AWS resources inside that VPC. Okay, and then you can consider this VPC as a traditional network. Okay, so in our data center, what we can do, we can create private networks. Okay, so in case of Amazon VPC, we can create virtual private networks. Okay, so here we have selected a CIDR range, and this CIDR range define the number of IP address space that you have. Okay, so suppose, for example, if I am selecting 10.0.0.0/16, so in that case, I have total 65536 IP addresses in my VPC. That means I can assign 65,536 resources a unique IP address. Okay, so that is the purpose of creating a VPC, that is, you have a better control over your resources and you can launch your resources inside your VPC. So this is about Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. Again, as I said, that in some cases, the services that comes under serverless category, as a user, you are not supposed to create or configure any VPC. AWS will take care of the underlying infrastructure. So I hope this makes sense to everyone. Now, let's understand some key concepts about VPC. Okay. So, as I said, VPC is a virtual private cloud. Okay. And VPC is something that span in a region. So if we consider this is our a region, okay, and in India we have a Mumbai region, okay. So in Mumbai region, if you are going to create a VPC, okay, so this VPC is going to span across your region. That is, VPC is a regional service, okay. Again, if we are going to divide this VPC into subnets, okay, so this is a virtual private network and we are dividing this virtual private network into sub networks. So if suppose, for example, if we have created this sub networks, we have divided this VPC into subnets. So there are two subnets that are available. Now again, a region is something that is having a availability zone. Okay, so this is our AZ1 where we have created a subnet, and this is our AZ2 where we have created another subnet. So VPC is something that is span across, or that is a regional, whereas subnet is something that is AZ specific. Okay, so a subnet cannot go beyond one AZ. So this is the representation of a VPC and subnet. Okay. Again, subnet, what is the subnet? So from this CIDR, the large CIDR that we have selected, we have subdivided the large CIDR into two subnets here in this case. So it is a range of IP address in your VPC that resides in an availability zone. So this is the definition of subnet. And then how you are going to divide this? So with the help of CIDR notation, that is classless interdomain routing. So I hope all of you have a good understanding of this notation, that is 10.0.0/16. So the number that we are writing here, that means the first 16 digits is fixed for network ID, and the last 16 digit is something that is reserved for host ID in case of /16. So we know that IP version 4 is something that is 32 bits. Okay. So in this 32 bit, we have first 16 digit that is fixed for network, and the last 16 digit is something that is fixed for host. Similarly, if I am selecting a /24 notation, okay, so in that case, in the /24 notation, the first 24 bit is something that is fixed for network, and the last 8 bit is fixed for host. So in this case, I am going to receive 2 to the power 8, that is 256 IP addresses. And in this case, we are going to receive 2 to the power 16, that is 65536 IP addresses. Okay. So this is the concept of CIDR blocks. So generally, we are going to select /16 for our VPC because we want a big virtual private cloud. And then we can subdivide this VPC into subnets. And here we can select /20 or /24 as per our need. Again, there is no hard and fast rule that what CIDR that we are supposed to select for VPC and subnet, but there is a maximum and minimum limit. The /16 is something that you can select maximum, and /28 is something that you can select the minimum in the VPC CIDR selection. So this is the concept of CIDR block. Then we have route tables. Okay. So again, in route tables, we are going to define set of routes. So this set of routes is something that determine where the network traffic is going to be directed. And then we have internet gateway. So again, internet gateway is something that is attached to a VPC. So if resources inside this VPC wants to communicate with the public internet, okay, so they can communicate through this internet gateway. Okay, so we are going to attach this internet gateway to our VPC so that resources inside this can communicate with the internet. So these are the key concepts of VPC. If you have any question, so I will take a pause here and you can ask. Feel free to ask your questions if you have any. All good? Any questions? Okay. Okay. Next, we have net gateways. Okay. So again, like net gateway is something that is going to be created in a public subnet. And the purpose of net gateway is to provide internet access, or we can provide internet updates to the resources that are hosted in private subnet. Okay. So for the use case, what we can do is, suppose, for example, if we have a private subnet that is available here. Okay. So if this private subnet have a database server. Okay. So this is our public subnet where we have net gateway. So net is something that is installed here. And then we have database server. So to provide internet updates to the database server, we are going to use this net gateway. The database server will send a request to net gateway for the internet updates. And then this is a net gateway is inside public subnet. So it will go to the request will go to the internet gateway, and then it will go to the internet. So in this way, net gateways, that is network address translation service, can be used to provide internet access to the resources that are hosted in a private subnet. So this is the purpose of net gateway. So Amit, as I already informed you that we are not supposed to record this session, okay, as per the policy of AWS. So this is the purpose of net gateways, that is network address translation. Then again, to provide security, we have two components or two concepts that are available. One is network address and network access control list, NACLs. Okay. And then we have security groups, that is a stateful firewall. Okay. So first let's understand what is the concept of NACLs, network address and network access control list, NACLs. So it is a stateless firewall that is going to control the traffic in and out of one or more subnet. So NACLs are generally installed at the subnet level. Okay. So here, if we have here two subnets, so who can enter this subnet, or how the traffic can leave this subnet? This is something that is defined by NACLs. But if we have an EC2 instance, okay, that is available here. So the security group is something that it can control the traffic of an EC2 instance. So instance level security is something that is provided by security group, and subnet level security is provided by the NACLs, that is network access control list. Now the concept is network access control list are stateless firewalls. So what is the meaning of stateless? That means if we have allowed a HTTP traffic, inbound HTTP traffic, we have to allow explicitly the HTTP traffic. Okay, so that is stateless. That means in this case, you have to add both the rule, inbound as well as outbound, for that particular protocol. Like if we are using an HTTP protocol, so if you have defined inbound rule for HTTP protocol, you have to define an outbound as well. Otherwise, the traffic will not be transmitted outbound if you have not defined outbound. Okay. But in case of security group, there are stateful firewalls. That means if you have defined inbound for HTTP, the outbound is by default allowed. Okay. So you don't have to define outbound rule for HTTP here. So that means they are stateful, whereas network access control list are stateless firewall. And these are the mechanisms that we can use to control traffic or to provide security to our VPC. Okay. And then we have a concept of VPC endpoints. So what is the purpose of VPC endpoints, or how you can use VPC endpoints? Okay. So here, suppose, for example, if we have created a VPC, so this is my VPC here, and this is my buckets somewhere on the AWS environment. Okay. Now, if suppose, for example, here I am running in EC2 instance, and this instance wants to access this bucket. Okay. So if I'm not using a VPC endpoint, the traffic is going to flow, or the traffic is going to travel through the public internet. Okay. So first the request will go to the internet gateway, and from internet gateway it will go to the public internet, and then I'm going to access this VPC, this S3 bucket. Okay. So this is how the connection is going to take place. But if I want to keep my connection private, okay, because my EC2 instance is also on AWS environment, and my S3 bucket is also on AWS environment. So I don't want that the traffic should leave the AWS network. So in that case, what I can do is I can use, or I can create a VPC endpoint. Okay. So when we are creating a VPC endpoint, the traffic will not travel to the public internet. It will travel through the AWS network. Okay. And then we can access the content of S3 bucket. So VPC endpoints enable you to privately connect your VPC to the supported AWS services. Okay. So this is the purpose of VPC endpoint. And then we have, there are
Sir,
no
what are the
transitive.
supported services?
Okay. So supported
VPC,
services.
VPC endpoint.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for VPC endpoints, the supported services like S3 and DynamoDB is something that we can use. Okay. And again, there are two types of endpoints that are available. So one is gateway endpoints, and another is interface endpoints. Okay. So gateway endpoint is something that support S3 and DynamoDB, whereas rest of the AWS support services, okay,
Yeah,
like
yes,
firewall, we have this session manager. Okay.
session
So
management. Only
yeah,
sir
system
S3 and
manager.
DynamoDB is using and
S3 and DynamoDB are supported by gateway endpoint.
yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
These two services can be used with gateway endpoint, and rest of the AWS services can be used with interface endpoint. Okay, like we have system manager that is available. Okay, so the concept here is, if your service that is inside your VPC wants to access another service that is outside of your VPC, okay, and in that case you want that the connection should be keep private. That means the connection should not go over public internet. So in that case, the VPC endpoints can be used. Okay, I hope this makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another concept is transitive peering is not supported. Okay, in between VPCs. So suppose, for example, if we have three VPCs, VPC A, B, and VPC C, and we have connected VPC and B through peering connection, and VPC B and C through peering connection. Okay, so that doesn't mean that A and C are connected. So to connect A and C, what you need to do, you need to explicitly connect A and C. You need to explicitly create an peering connection between A and C. So transitive peering is not supported on AWS. You have to create explicit connection between all the VPCs. So in that case, suppose for example, if I have 5 VPCs, okay, so in that case, if you want that each VPC should be connected to each other, so you have to create this like all you have to connect all the VPCs through other VPCs. So it is kind of mesh topology, okay, where each VPC is connected to other VPC. So this is something, the concept of transitive peering that is not supported between VPCs. So these are the concepts of Amazon VPC. If you have any question, you can ask, and then we'll do a demo.
Sir, for the NAT gateway, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't initiate the connection. So what does mean by that?
Okay. So like here you can see that a network address translation net service provides private subnets access to outside services, but they cannot initiate the connection. Okay. So suppose, for example, if this is my net gateway here, okay, and this is my DB server, database server, okay, and here, suppose for example, we are using Oracle database, and here something that is Oracle server is running on oracle.com, okay, and this is my VPC. So in that case, this DB Oracle can send request to net for the update, and net will forward this request to the Oracle server. Okay, so this is, that means this only database or Oracle database can initiate the connection. Okay, but from here you cannot access this database. So only one-way traffic is, or one-way connection is, can be initiated here. Okay, so from outside, no one can access your Oracle database. That is the concept of this. You cannot initiate the connection. Okay, so the services that are running here cannot initiate the Oracle database. That is the concept. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that is the concept of one-way communication. That means any resource that is hosted in a private subnet. Okay. So no one from the internet can access your resources that are hosted in private subnet. But if the resources that are hosted in private subnet wants an internet access, they can access internet through NetGate by initiating the connection. Okay. So if they initiate the connection, then only they can receive the response. Else they cannot receive any response. Okay. So let's do a demo here. So what we are going to do?
Hi
We are
Rahul, I
going
have
to.
one doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the difference between NAT instance and NAT gateway.
Okay. So basically,
Yeah.
net instance. Yeah, net instance is something that as a user you are going to launch an EC2 instance. Okay. You are going to configure this EC2 instance, and you are going to run this EC2 instance as a net instance. Okay. Now, to offload your work, AWS has come with a service that is known as Net Gateway. So Net Gateways are managed service. Okay. So as a user, you are not responsible for underlying infrastructure. You just create your Net Gateway, and AWS will take care of high availability, scalability, and all these things. Okay. So yeah, that is. Again, I think high availability is something that you have to a fault tolerant is something that AWS will take care. But again, net gateway is something that is launched per availability zone. So you have to create, like if you want to make your net gateway highly available, you have to launch 2 net gateways. Okay. But again, like the remaining configuration is something that is taken care by AWS. So instead of using net instance, AWS suggests that you should use net gateways because they are managed service. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So let's see a demo on creating a VPC. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use this sandbox environment that is available here. Okay. So sandbox environment is something that I'm going to use to show the demo. Again, when you run the sandbox environment, this Wakaram environment is something that is available. And from here, you can create a start lab. Okay. So like again, the instructions are given here, how to use the sandbox environment. So I have already started the lab. And right now you can see that there is a green tick around AWS. So I have clicked on AWS and it will open my AWS management console. Okay. Now, from the services menu, you can access VPC. VPC is obviously in the networking and content delivery section in this domain. So we are going to select this and it will listed here, isolated cloud resources. So let's click on VPC here. So right now you can see that the default environment region that is selected is Oregon. Okay, so unless and until it is like instructed in the lab environment to select a different region, okay, don't change the region unless and until it is instructed. So right now we are in the Oregon region and you can see that in this region, one VPC is already available. So if we click this VPC, so here you can see that this VPC is available. This is the CIDR range for this VPC 172.31.0.0/16. And this is something that is a default VPC. So we can also name this as a default VPC. Okay, so this is the default VPC that is available in my environment. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to create a VPC here. So let's click on create VPC. Again, there are two options, VPC only. So when you select VPC only, step by step, you can create VPC, subnets, net gateway, then internet gateway, configure the route tables, create the route tables. So this is something that you can do. Again, we are going to select this VPC in more option, which one is, this is more easy and quick to configure the VPC. So here VPC and more is something that we are going to select. We are going to give the name that is demo VPC. Again, the CIDR range that we are going to select is 10.0.0.0/16 and it will give me 65,536 IP addresses. And the tenancy will be default here. Okay. After this, number of availability zones. So we are going to use 2 availability zones right now. Again,
Excuse
number
me,
of
sir.
public yeah.
Yes, in tenancy, there is a default you said, no, sir. Is there anything or tenancy available?
Default and dedicated. Okay.
Yeah.
So
What is in
when
dedicated? What is it?
yeah, when we select default tenancy, that means our resources like our EC2 instance will be launched in the default hardware of AWS, where other customer hardware are also going to be launched. That means the hardware is going to be shared between multiple customers. Okay. And when we use dedicated tenancy, that means the hardware is something that is dedicated to our use. Okay. So that is the difference between default and dedicated. Okay. Again, like if you are referring to some option, any option, here we have an info option that is available. So when you click on this info option, you can see that you can run instances in your VPC on a single tenant dedicated hardware. Okay. So default to ensure that instance launch in this VPC use the tenancy attribute specified at launch, or if you are creating a VPC for outpost private connectivity. And dedicated to ensure that instance launch in this VPC are run on dedicated tenancy instances. Okay. So that is the difference between the hardware. Like in default, it will be launched onto the default hardware where other customer or the hardware is shared between multiple customers. And dedicated is something where the resources are going to be launched in your dedicated host or dedicated hardware. That is the difference. Okay.
That is not shareable with other in
Yeah,
dedicated.
that is that. Yeah, like in EC2, we have a dedicated instances. So in
Yes.
dedicated instances, the hardware is something that is dedicated to your use only. No
Specific
other,
user.
yeah, specific user. In case of dedicated host and dedicated instance. Okay. But again, they are costly and only recommended if you have a highly secure workload that you want to run. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, you can use default. So that is the purpose of NNC. And number of availability zone, 2, number of public subnet. So we want 2 public subnet and 2 private subnet. So the environment that we are going to launch here is, so this is the diagram of the environment. We have a VPC, 2 public subnets, 2 private subnets in 2 different availability zones. A net gateway is going to be created. And this is the public route table that is going to be configured. And this is the private route table that is going to be configured. So this is the environment that we are going to create in the demo. So 2 public subnets, 2 private subnets, again net gateway. So 1 net gateway we want in 1 availability zone. Okay. And then VPC endpoint. So right now you can see that S3 gateway endpoint is available, but we don't want right now. We are not going to use this. And then just click on create VPC. When we click on create VPC, you can see that all these options are going to be configured automatically. It will create a VPC. It will enable DNS host name, resolution, verifying VPC. It will create 4 subnets, internet gateway. It will attach the internet gateway. It will create route table, create route. It will associate our route table. Again, it will allocate elastic IP address to the net gateway. And then the net gateway is going to be active. Again, it will take some time here. And once it will complete it, the VPC is available for use. Okay, so it will automatically configure. Otherwise, what we have to do is we have to create each component individually. First, we are going to create VPC, then we are going to create subnets, then we are going to create internet gateway, then we are going to attach this internet gateway to the VPC, then we are going to create route table and configure the route table. So all this configuration we have to do step by step. But from with this option, what you can do is you can just select all the options in one page, and then you can click on create VPC. So it will take hardly 15 to 20 seconds, okay, to configure and create your VPC. Any questions? Okay, so here the net gateway is something that is going to be take some time. And then once it will be available, I will show you the VPC that is going to be created. Okay, so now you can see that net gateway is active and everything is created. And we will receive the message of success. Okay. Again, if you click on your VPC section, you can see that there are 2 VPCs that are available. So if I refresh this, one is demo VPC that we just created, and one is default VPC. So this is our demo VPC. So what we are going to do is we are going to click on subnets. And the demo VPC, we have 4 subnets. So demo subnet public 1, public 2, private 1, and private 2. So what we are going to do, we are going to click on select the subnet public 1, click on action and edit subnet settings. And then here enable auto assign public IP for address. That means whenever any resource is going to be created inside this subnet, it will automatically receive a public IP address from AWS. So this is the option that we are going to enable for our public subnets. So I'm going to enable this for public subnet 2 as well. So select the subnet, click on action. Okay. So I have to deselect this and then click on action, edit subnet settings, enable auto assign public IP address, and then click on save. So this is how the VPC is configured and ready to use. If you have any question, you can ask a question. VPC created, subnet created, route table created, internet gateway created, net gateway created. Okay, so now we have a VPC that we can use. So in the next topic we are going to launch in EC2 inside this VPC. So let's understand what we just created. So this is the architecture that is created just now. Okay, we created VPC, public subnets, private subnets, net gateway, and then configured the route table. Now, next we are going to talk about EBS, that is elastic block storage. Okay, so again, as the name is block storage, that means if you want to use a block level storage solution with your EC2 instance, okay, so we can use EBS. Again, it is going to provide storage persistent data. So persistent data, that means once the data is stored in the EBS, it is not going to be vanished or it is not going to be deleted until and unless we manually or we explicitly delete the data. Okay, so EBS is something that is similar to your hard drive. So once you have stored your data in the hard drive, even the system is turned on or off, the data will be persistent in the hard drive. Okay, now it is something that is a storage volume for your EC2 instances. Okay, again, when you launch an EC2 instance, you generally select the storage option. Okay, and Amazon EC2 is EBS is something that we are going to we receive as a root volume, that is we can say C drive, or we can select multiple EBS volumes as D drive or E drive. Okay, again, these EBS volumes are in the network. So if you physically look how this works, so this is our EC2 instance. Okay, there are drives, network drive, EBS drives that are available. So what we can do is we can attach this drive to our EC2 instance. So once you attach this, you can create a file system on top of this volume, and then you can run your databases, your applications. Okay, and you can use this as a storage drive. So this is something that EBS have. Again, EBS volumes are automatically replicated within its availability zone. Okay, so that it can protect from component failure, or it can offer high availability and durability. So you store data in one EBS volume, and the copy of your data is something that is replicated across multiple facilities. Okay, so this is the concept of EBS. So recording, again, as I said multiple times that recordings are not available for the session because as per AWS policies, we are not supposed to record this session, but there is recorded videos that are already available in the canvas. Okay. And again, if you want, I can follow the steps multiple times so that you can better understand. Okay. So this is something that is EBS have. Yeah. Now, here you can see that this is how EBS work. Okay, we have two type of EBS, that is SSD based, that is solid drive. Okay, solid drive, and then we have HDD, that is hard disk drive. So solid disk drive, that is something that is available in GP3 general purpose, or IO2, that is provisional IOPS. Okay, now the difference between SSD and HDD is if you have a workload that required high input output per second. Okay, so in that case, SSD is something that can be used. And if you have a workload that required low, okay, so in that case, or if you have want a cheaper option for storage, so that can be used in HDD, hard disk drive. Again, you can select your volume type according to your application need and the cost, the budget that you have. So how we are going to use this EBS volume? You can see we can attach EBS volumes to our EC2 instance, and then we can run our application onto this. So this is how EBS work. Now, if we go here onto the management console, okay. So here if we search for EBS as a service, so EBS as a service is not available, But when we go to ECS, Elastic Compute Cloud, okay, so in that case, we have an option of storage. Okay, so here you can see that Elastic Block Storage is something that is available. And this is something that we can create EBS volumes here. Okay, or when we create our EC2 instance, so we can select the EBS volume for our instance. So here we have general purpose. These are the different options that are available. General purpose SSD solid state drive, that is GP3, GP2, IO1, IO2. Okay, cold SGD, throughput optimized, magnetic. So here you can see you will receive from 3000 input output per second minimum to maximum 16,000 input output per second. Okay, so this is something that we can receive. And then we have a throughput, that is MIBPS, so 125, okay, to maximum 1000 MIBPS. Okay, so this is the speed that we can receive if we are transferring a large file here. And then this is something that is availability zone specific. Okay, so here you can see that you can select the availability zone. So EBS is availability zone specific. We have to create it replica, then we have to create snapshot, right? Yes, we have to create a snapshot. Okay, EBS, there are different throughput can be explainers or burst. Okay, so here you can see that there are different options that are available. Okay, so this is something that is general purpose, where according to the number of GB, suppose for example, if I'm selecting 1000 GB, okay, I can select more number of input output per second according to my use case. Okay, now you can see that general purpose SSD GP3 is now the default selection. GP3 provides up to 20% lower cost per GB than GP2. Okay, that is something that is available here. So this is how we can select, and I think I do have a comparison that is available. So there are different options, volume types that are available that we can use according to, like GP2, if we are selecting what is the maximum speed that we can receive. So here the baseline performance is you will receive 3 IOPS per GB. Okay. So, and again, minimum 1 GB and maximum 16384 GB that we can select here. And for this, throughput is something that is not available. So in case of burst throughput, so what is, suppose for example, if you are receiving the maximum, like in case of GP3, if we are getting 3000 minimum, okay, and maximum is 16,000 IOPS, and suddenly if a traffic is coming, okay, so to accommodate this traffic, okay, burst throughput is something that can be used. So in case of burst throughput, what the we are permitted for 3000 IOPS input output per second, but to maintain the performance, we can use up to 16,000 input output per second if we are using a burst mode, burst throughput mode. Okay, so that is the difference. I hope this makes sense. Okay, now we are going to talk about Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. So again, if you want to run a virtual server on AWS platform, so for that we can use Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. Okay, and this EC2 can be used as a web server or as a application server. Okay, or you can use this virtual server as per your use cases. Okay, so basically it's a web service that provides secure, resizable compute capacity. So as the name is Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. So you can increase or decrease the capacity of your server. You can change your instances. You can increase the size of your instance. You can decrease the size. So these are resizable compute capacity that are available. Again, it is a virtual server onto the AWS environment so that you can run your application on this. And then it going to provide you complete control over all the computing resources. Okay. So this is something that we can use on AWS for compute need that we have. Now, if you talk about the purchase options that are available, so in case of purchase option, the on demand is something that when you want, you are going to launch the EC2 instance and then you can use it. Again, the on demand is something that is best used for spiky workloads or temporary needs. Okay. So suppose, for example, we are going to do a demo right now. So we are going to use the on demand EC2 instance. Again, we are going to pay for the per second or hour. Again, there is no long-term commitment when we are using this on-demand instances. Okay, so this is the traffic pattern, spiky workload. Okay, so in that case, we are going to use on-demand. Saving plans is something that is, if you if you know that you are going to use this EC2 instance for 1 year or 3 years, okay, and you want to do a commitment of 1 year or 3 years for your workload, or if you have a flexible committed workload, okay, fixed workload. So in that case, saving plan is something that you can use. So here you are going to receive discount up to 60 to 70% as compared to on demand rates. So that is the option that we can use to save the cost. And then spot instance is something the spare Amazon EC2 capacity. That means AWS is having the spare EC2 capacity that is available. And as a user, you can bid for this spare EC2 capacity. And if your bid price is higher than the other users, in that case, you can receive this spot instances. And in this case, you can receive up to 90% discount as compared to on-demand cost. So if you have a workload that are fault tolerant, flexible, stateless, so this kind of workload can be run on spot instances. So these are the different pricing options that are available. Again, if you see saving plans, so saving plans have two different options. One is compute saving plans and another is EC2 instance saving plan. So compute saving plan is something that is going to give you 66% discount as compared to on-demand rates. Okay. And then this compute saving plan is flexible across instance family. That means you can change the instance family, you can change the size, you can also even change the operating system. Suppose, for example, if you are using Windows, you can switch to Linux. Tenancy that is dedicated or default, you can change. Availability zone, you can change. Region, you can change. So you are flexible across all these options. Okay. And you will receive up to 66% off as compared to on-demand rates. Whereas EC2 instance saving plan, you will receive more discount up to 72% as compared to on-demand rates. Okay. On the selected instance family in a specific AWS region. So in EC2 instance saving plan can be used on selected instance family in a specific AWS region. And again, you can only flexible across availability zones, size, OS, and tenancy. Okay, so you can change these options, but other options cannot be changed in case of EC2 instance saving plan. So these are the different saving plans that are available.
Excuse me, sir. In instance family, we can increase the sizes of instance family in EC2 instance saving plan.
EC2 instance saving plan? Yes.
We can increase
so
the
size
sizes
option is size option is available here. Okay. So instance family and size are two different things. Okay. So we will see the instance family here. This is so here you can see that this is the instance family. Okay. General purpose instances, compute optimized instances, memory optimized instances, storage optimized instances, accelerated computing. These are the instance family. Okay. And
Yes,
size
yes.
is like T2.micro, T2. Large, T2. Extra large. Okay. So these are the size.
Sizes we
So
can increase. No.
yeah, sizes you can increase in both the cases.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But in this case, only selected instance family are supported. Okay, and that is also to particular specific AWS region. So you have to check with AWS website where you can change or not. Okay, so that is the difference. But here you can receive up to 72% discount. Yeah, and then we have sport instances. To deploy the workload, can you explain what is the placement group and placement group strategies? Yeah. Okay, so we will discuss that. So EC2 sport instances, again, this is the third type. So basically, these are going to use the same infrastructure where your other types are running. Okay, here you will get best value. That means you can receive up to 90% discount as compared to on demand. Okay, again, here you have to plan for interruption. That means the uh, instances that you are going to receive here. So these instances can be taken from you within a span of 2 minutes. That means with the notice of 2 minutes, this instance can be taken back from you. Okay, and you have to save your workload. So you have to plan for interruption, and you can choose different instance type, size, and availability zone here as well. Now, the concept of spot instances is like AWS have the spare capacity of EC2. Okay, so any user who want to use this spare capacity can bid for this. And again, if his or her bid price is higher as compared to other customer, AWS will give these spot instances. Okay, but again, if another customer is bidding higher than the current customer, this is something that can be informed to the current customer that your bid price is something lower, or the instance is taken from you again. Okay, so you can plan for interruption if you have a workload that is time insensitive. Okay, or workload that can be like you can run half of our workload right now and the remaining workload tomorrow. So such kind of workload can be run on spot instances to get better discount. Okay, that is the concept of EC2 spot instances. Now the use cases are image and media rendering, okay, or web services, or big data and analytics. This is something that we can, these are the application where we can use spot instances to reduce the cost. Now, when you combine this purchasing option, so here you can see that on demand is something that is going to be costliest one, okay, and this is something that is suitable for spiky workload, unpredictable workload, okay. Whereas spot instance is something that can give you up to 90% discount. Okay. But the workload that is fault tolerant, flexible, and stateless, for such workload, we can use spot instances. And then if we have a steady usage where the flexibility of change is important, in that case, compute saving plans can be used and we can receive up to 66%. And then if we have a steady usage, okay, and our workload is something that is fixed. In that case, we can use EC2 instance saving plan and we can receive up to 72% discount. So this is something that we can use here. We can combine the purchasing option. And then we have different instance type that are available. Okay, so again, instance type determine the amount of RAM that you are going to receive, the processing power, storage, network performance. Okay, and then we have name instance name that are available like t2.micro, where T is the family, 2 is the generation number, and micro is the size of the instance. Okay, and for different use cases, different instance categories are defined. So general purpose is something that is used broadly. So like T2, T3 instances are available here. M4, M5, these are used for general purpose where you will receive balance, memory, processing power, disk. Okay, compute optimize is something if you require high performance, so C type can be used. In memory database, if you want to run, so memory optimize can be used, and these are the instance type that are supported. If you want storage optimize, machine learning workload you want to run, so G series can be used, P series can be used, and for accelerated computing like distributed file system if you want to run. So for this, these are the instance family that are supported here. These are the instance type that we can use. So this is something that is under the EC2 option. Okay. Now we are going to do a demo on launching an EC2 instance, and in the demo we are going to see the concept of placement group as well. Okay, where to select the placement group and what is the concept of placement group. So let's go
Uh,
to the EC2.
Hello,
Yeah.
Rahul. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know how to order the spot instances, because the spot request, you can book the instances, or how it is.
Yeah. So here you can see that the spot request is available.
Okay.
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 And then you can
Oh,
request a spot instance. Okay. Again, you can configure the parameters, launch parameter of your instance, or you can use a launch template. Okay. So the concept of launch template, that means we are going to configure, like when we launch an EC2 instance, we generally configure all the things like AMI, security groups, key pair, then VPC, network, everything. So
okay.
similarly, you can use a launch template, or you can manually configure which AMI I want, what is the key pair name, okay,
Mhm.
what will be the role, what is the capacity, instance. So in this way, network, in this way, we can submit a spot request. Number of virtual CPU I want, number of memory that I want, maximum, minimum. And in this case, you will receive the matching, okay, fleet strength that is available. And then you can click on launch. So
Okay.
in this way, you
Okay.
can select for spot instance.
Okay. So generally, what is the some around figure of the spot instances will be available for the AWS account?
Spot, you want limit?
Yeah, limit.
Okay. So for limit, I think let's search for limit here. Or it is under service quota. Service. Okay, so here we have like sport, all DL sport instance request 96, F
Okay.
sport instance request 64. So from here you can check. Okay,
Mhm.
info sport instance request 8 we can do.
What is that
So this is
DL and F? All DL, all
uh,
F.
these are the like instance family.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, like instance family that we have different instance family types that are available. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Instance family from general purpose to compute optimize, does that affect cost, or does the cost remain same for what I paid for general purpose for say 3 years? So the cost is going to be vary, okay, according to the different instance family, because again, like each family have different configuration. So like in compute optimize, you will receive more compute power. Okay. For storage optimize, you are going to receive for more storage option. So the cost is going to be vary in that case. Cost is going to be vary. Okay. Now let's select instances here. Right now you can see that no instances running. I'm going to click on launch instances. Now we can give the name Windows Server. Okay. And then AMI that we are going to select is Windows AMI. So Microsoft Windows is something that we are going to select here. And you can see that the latest one that is available is Windows Server 2022 base edition. Okay, so this is the AMI Amazon Virtual Machine that is available. After this, instance type. So this is the instance type that are available. So free tier is something that we are going to use. G2 dot micro is something that we are going to use here. But we have different options that are available. So suppose, for example, if you select the largest one, or something that is R6IN.224 extra large, which have 96 virtual CPU, 768 GB of memory. Okay, and then you can also see the cost. $8.49284 USD per hour. Okay, so this is the cost that is available. So we are, for demo purpose, we are going to use free tier eligible. And then the key pair. So we are going to use this walkie key pair that is available in our lab environment. Okay. Network settings. So this is important. We are going to launch this EC2 instance in the VPC that we have created. So demo VPC is something that we have created, and we are going to launch this into the public subnet 1. Okay. So public subnet 1 is something that we are going to use. And then you can see that auto assign public IP address is enabled right now. We are going to create a security group here. Okay. So HTTP, or we can say public, the name is public SG security group. And here we can write description, allow HTTP and RDP, remote access protocols, because we are going to do a RDP on this EC2 instance. Okay. So by default, RDP rule is already available. We can use add another rule, and we can just select HTTP here. Okay. So HTTP is something that we are going to access this from the internet, and here we are going to see this anywhere. Anyone from the internet can access this. After this, this is the EBS. Okay. So you can see that by default 30 GB GP2 is going to be received. Okay. This is the default that is going to be received, and these are the different options that are available. Again, we can add another volume if we want, but right now we are going to use this only because our operating system is going to be installed in this root volume. Okay. And then here you have advanced detail section. Okay. So there are a lot of options that are available. And I think someone has asked about the placement group option. So let's see the placement group. Here you can see that placement group option is available. And the placement group right now, you can see that right now no placement group is available. But what we can do is we can click on create placement group. Okay. Again, when we click on create placement group, there are multiple options available. Okay. We can choose this multiple placement. One is cluster, spread, partition. Okay. So when we are selecting this cluster placement group, so in that case, AWS will place our multiple EC2 instance in same nearby locations. Okay, so cluster placement group is something where the EC2 instance that we are going to create is going to be launched at the same nearby location in a hardware location, racks. Okay, whereas what is the purpose of cluster? So that if this EC2 instance wants to communicate with each other, so they can communicate fastly. Okay, and we can receive high performance if they are placed nearby hardwares. Okay, spread placement group is something where the EC2 instances are going to be spread across availability zones or across hardware racks. Okay, so to avoid the failure. So if you have a highly sensitive application that you are running and you want that it should be fault tolerant. Okay, so in that case, we can spread our EC2 instance. Okay, and partition is something that we can create partitions. Okay, in we can create multiple partitions, and then we can place this EC2 instances in this multiple partitions. Okay, so this partition is something inside a availability zone, whereas spread is something that our EC2 instances are spread across multiple availability zones. So this is the concept of placement group. So determines how the instances are placed on the underlying hardware. I hope this is clear now, the concept of placement group. Okay. Okay. So right now we are not selecting anything here. Okay. We are just going to click on launch instances. Okay. So launch instances is something that we have clicked here, and the instance will become ready in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. It will be started. So here you can see that instance state is right now pending, and status check is also not available. So we have to wait till the status check become 2 by 2. So we have discussed about launching an EC2 instance. So this is what we have done as of now. We have created a web server, okay, and then we are going to access this web server. So right now we have just launched an EC2 instance. We are going to make this EC2 instance a web server, and that is through a Windows web server. So can anyone tell me what is the name of Windows web server?
I think IIS maybe.
Yes. So yeah, it is IIS, Internet Information Server. Like in Linux, we have Apache. Okay. So here we are going to use IIS server. So we are going to configure and install IIS server in our Windows environment, and then we are going to use this. So it will take some time, okay, to become ready. So meanwhile, let's discuss S3, okay, and then we will install the IIS server. So Amazon Simple Storage Service S3, again, like S3 is an object storage, okay. So S3 can be used to store virtually unlimited data, okay, and you can compare your S3 with Google Drive. Like most of you have already used Google Drive, okay. So S3 is similar concept as of Google Drive, okay, and here you can store virtually unlimited data, but the object size of a single object can be up to 5 terabyte, okay. So you cannot have an object that is larger than 5 TB, and it is designed for 11 nines of durability. So what is meaning of 11 nines of durability? That means 99.999999999% durability. That means if you have stored an object, okay, like if you have stored 10,000 objects in an S3 bucket, so the chances of losing a single object in 100 years is negligible. Okay, so that is the level of durability that S3 guarantees. So S3 is something that store your data in multiple facility center inside a availability zone. So you store your data in S3, and it will make multiple copies of your data and store in multiple facility centers in an availability zones. Okay. Again, you can use S3 for static website hosting, for security compliance and auditing capabilities. You can use management console to create S3. You can use command line CLI to create S3 or SDKs, software development kits. So this is something that we can use. Again, by default, all the S3 bucket that you create is private. Okay. And it is encrypted by default. Okay. So previously it is optionally encrypted, but nowadays your data is going to be encrypted by default. Okay. So data is stored redundantly in bucket as objects, and you can retrieve your data anytime from anywhere via the internet. Again, the bucket name of S3 must be globally unique. So no two buckets can have same name on AWS. So you have to select a unique bucket name for your S3. And these are the different storage classes that are available. So S3 standard is something that is used if you have a data that is frequently accessed. Okay. So here you will receive millisecond access, and in millisecond you can access your data, and the data is stored in multiple availability zone. Okay. Whereas S3 standard infrequent is where if you have an infrequently accessed data. So again, here also the access is in millisecond. Again, the data is stored in more than or equal to 3 availability zone. So here you have a minimum storage duration and minimum object size that you can store. And then one zone is something where the data is going to be stored in only one zone. So to reduce the cost, if you have a data that is recreatable, less accessed, so this can be used in S3 one zone infrequent. Glacier is something if you have an archive data. Okay. So in that case, you can select, you can store your archive data in S3 Glacier. So it will give you reduced cost of storage. And then S3 Glacier Deep Archive if you have a long-term archive data, okay, if you want to store data for long term, so in that case, Glacier Deep Archive can be used. And intelligent tiering is something that is going to automatically store your data with changing access pattern. Okay, so it can be stored in standard first, and then if data is not accessed frequently, it can be stored in SC standard infrequent. So these are the different storage classes that are available. Now we are going to do a demo on SC as well. So let's do complete the demo of our EC2. So now you can see that EC2 is running, 2x2 status check is passed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on connect here. Before that, I'm going to download the PEM file. So on AWS details, we are going to download this PEM file so that we can access our server. So here I'm going to save on desktop. And now I'm going to click on connect. RDP client is something the way through which we are going to connect. Okay. And here, first we are going to download the remote desktop file on desktop. And then I'm going to click on get password. So we have to upload the private key file that we just downloaded, the lab user. Okay, desktop. Lab user is something that we are going to open here and then click on decrypt password. So this is the password that we receive. Now, what we are going to do, okay. So we have downloaded this file, RDP file. We are going to click on connect. We are going to paste the password and click OK. Yes. So it will connect us to the Windows web server, Windows server. So all of you can see my virtual web server, virtual server, and we are going to create this virtual server as a web server. Okay, so the web server is up and running. So I will click on start, and here we have an option of server manager. So click on server manager. And right now it is configuring the local server. Okay. So if you click on add roles and features here, so the server manager is collecting the inventory data. Okay. So we just need to wait for a few seconds here, and then we are going to click on this add roles and features. So it will take some time. Now you can see that it is available. So click on add roles and features, and then click on next. Click on role-based or feature-based installation. Next, select a server from the server pool. So this is by default selected. Click on next. And here we have to select this web server IIS. So click on this. and we have to add this feature. Click on next. Then again next and click on install. So it is going to install the IIS web server. Okay. So the installation is started. It is saying that you can close this without interrupting the running task. Okay. So what we can do is we can just minimize this. And then next what we have to do is open this file explorer. Go to this PC. So you can see that this is a local disk C drive that is of 30 GB. Okay, that is the EBS volume that we have received, where our operating system files are stored. And here we are going to open this inet pub.inet folder. Okay, and here www root, and here I am going to create a new file, text file. And here we are going to write this is my Windows web server. Okay, and we can format this. We can we can increase the font size. Save this. So what we are going to do, save as, and the name is index.html. This is the name that we are going to give here, and select save type as all files. Save. Okay. So this is something that we have saved here. And now we are going to delete the remaining files from here. Only index.html file is going to be stored. Now we will minimize this. And then after this, we are going to copy the public IP address of our instance. So if you go to the instances here again, this is the public IP address. And if I paste here, so we should receive a response from the server, and you can see that this is my Windows web server. If I copy this and paste in the chat, so I hope all of you can access this server with this IP address. So this is how you can create a virtual server, Windows virtual server, and configure this Windows virtual server as a web server. Now you can configure whatever website that you want to run. I hope this demo makes sense to everyone. If you have any question, you can ask. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question now with respect to today's topic. With respect to
Yeah.
shared responsibility model, can I go ahead?
Shared
Hello?
responsibility model, yes.
Yeah, I have a question regarding that, okay, because I was just going through the Canvas content today. So in
Yeah,
that, like one of the what is that question? In the scenario, I just
yeah.
came across that like in the scenario that web server in VPC managed using the AWS CLI. There's a scenario called as protecting the AWS management console. Okay, so who is responsible for this? So I thought it is like AWS management console means like the user details we will be logging, like for the login we will give the user details, no, username and password. So I thought like protecting means like it is the customer responsibility, I thought. But the answer given in the canvas, the answer for that is AWS is responsible. Can you just tell how AWS is responsible for that purpose?
Can you share the question scenario? What is question
Yeah,
scenario?
just a minute.
Yeah.
I can share the screen, I think, no?
Yeah, you can
Or
share this. Okay,
uh,
so just give me a few minutes so that we can complete this S3 bucket demo first, and then we can
okay,
discuss that. Okay.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So this is the last topic for the day. Demo on creating an S3 bucket, and then we'll
Uh,
discuss.
fine.
Okay. So here you can see that what we are going to do, we are going to create an S3 bucket from management console. This is the diagram. And then we are going to upload a text file, and then we are going to access this text file publicly. Okay. So the web server is up and running right now. Okay. We will go to S3 bucket. Okay. And in S3 bucket, what we are going to do, first we are going to create a bucket. Okay. So click on create bucket. Here you can see that this is the default region that is selected, and the bucket is general purpose. Name of the bucket is my demo bucket 2023. This is the name that I'm going to give these. Okay. And block public access setting is on. So I will turn off this. Okay. Because we want that this bucket can be accessible from anywhere from the internet. And I acknowledge this warning as well. And then just click on create bucket. So this bucket is created now. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to upload a data. Okay. So I'm going to upload this file here, 8 files. Okay. And the file is new text document. Okay. So this is the file that we are going to upload. So this file is uploaded. Okay. Now, if you go to this file, if you open this new text.txt, okay. And if you copy the object URL, if you paste here, so you can see that right now access is denied. That means this object is not public. So what we are going to do is we are going to make this bucket public. So for this, go to the bucket. Here we have permission. Okay. And here we have a bucket policy option that is available. So for this, we need to write a policy that makes the bucket public. So we have options. Policy examples are also available, and policy generator is also available. So let's use policy generator. And the service that we are going to select is S3 bucket. And from this policy generator, we are going to generate the policy. So allow principal is star, and then S3. Okay, action is create object. So we want to download the object, or we want to get the object. Okay, so get object is something that we are going to select action, and then ARN name of the bucket. So you can copy bucket ARN from here, Amazon resource name, and then slash star. That means any object inside this bucket can be accessible publicly. Click on add statement and generate policy. So this is the policy that is generated in JSON format. Copy this policy and paste here. Okay. And when we paste this bucket policy here and save changes, so this bucket will become now public. Okay. So if we refresh, this is going to become public here. So let's refresh this. And now you can see that it is public. That means it is publicly accessible. And now if I refresh this, okay, you can see that this is my file. This is available. Or if I paste this link here, okay, sorry, this is a bucket policy. If I paste the endpoint of the file, object URL, if I paste here, So you can access this file. This is how you can create a bucket. You can upload object and you can make the bucket publicly accessible. I hope this makes sense to everyone. So this is what we are supposed to do here. So we have completed the topics that we are supposed to cover in today's webinar. We started with VPC. We created VPC. Then we discussed about EBS, Elastic Block Storage. And then we discussed about EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud pricing options and how to launch an EC2 instance, how to make an EC2 instance a web server, Windows web server. And then we discussed about S3 and how to create a bucket or upload an object and how to make a bucket publicly accessible. If you have any question, you can ask. So we are open for discussion now. Again, we have a office hour as well that is included with this. So for next half an hour, we are open for Q&A if you have any. Yes, someone is saying something related to. Yes.
Hello, sir. I have one question.
Yeah.
Sir, if in a bucket, I have created one folder, and in that folder, I have multiple files such that index.html or some images are there because I am hosting the static website, right? So some images are there, some JavaScript files are there, some index.html are there. But in that folder, okay, and that folder in the bucket. So while that, if I accessing the website not accessible from there. From that, if I create a folder and then in that folder multiple pages are there, in that scenario, the bucket is not my website is not accessible.
Website is not accessible. Why? Uh, so you have made the bucket public.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
sir, if I sir, if in that bucket I have created all the file from out of that folder, okay, then website is accessible.
Yeah.
But in a particular folder, the website is not accessible. Particular folder, and in that folder, multiple files are there.
I'm not getting your question. What you are saying?
Suppose
means
sir, we
my
are
question is that-
launching any applications. Yeah, in S3 we are creating one folder. In that we are all the files related applications files related are storing a specific folder. When you are accessing that for S3 URL, that in that case we are not accessible. That website is not visible actually inside the folder, whatever the content is there. But outside the folder in S3 bucket, it is visible. He's going to say that.
Okay. So, if you want to make a bucket a website, so make sure that you have enable static website hosting option. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
that
yes,
is
sir.
fine, sir. That is fine.
Yes.
But
Yeah. So index.html file is something that you have to give the path. Okay. So like index.html is something that you are supposed to give. Let me show you here onto the console. So suppose, for example, this is my bucket. Okay. And here in the management, it is in the properties.
Sir, we can't.
Here we are
Please
supposed.
share your
Sir, your
screen.
screen is not visible, sir.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a second. I hope now it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
yes, sir.
Okay. So we are in the we have selected S3. Right now we have a bucket. We have selected this bucket. Okay, the bucket is publicly accessible. Like the first option, you have to make the bucket publicly accessible. Second option, properties. In properties, what you are supposed to do is, here in the last, we have an option of static website hosting. Okay. So it is right now disabled. What we are going to do, we are going to do edit and we will click on enable. So when you click on enable here, okay, here it will ask you the home page of your website. Okay. So the home page is index.html. Okay. Like suppose, for example, whenever we visit any website, suppose, for example, flipkart.com. Okay. So this is the home page of our website. Okay. This is the home page for the Flipkart. Now from here, whatever option you will select, it will redirect to that particular option. Suppose, for example, if I select travel here, so it will go to the travel page here. Okay. So similarly, here you have to set the index.html page for your website. Okay. And if the index.html is not available, what it is going to display. Okay. So you have to create an error.html as well. Okay. So these two pages that you have to upload on your website. Okay. In the home directory, in the bucket, and then whatever CSS file, JavaScript file that are available. Okay. So from index.html, this CSS JavaScript file can be accessible. Okay. So this is something that you have to. Making sense?
Sir, I have done it that. Yes, sir, I have done it
So
that.
that is not the
But
case,
in
sir.
this is not case. I have the question is that whenever I created one folder, okay, create folder option
Sir,
is
sir,
there. In the bucket.
sir, actually, you create one folder inside the S3 bucket, then put that into index.html, then so be what is the that is the case he asking about.
Yeah.
You have, yeah, Shefal. Yes, Shefal.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you're.
Okay. So Rohan, when you are creating this index.html, this would act as a home page. So when you are creating subfolders, the main thing would be inside this index.html, you should refer the other folders. It means mentioning the path of those folders where you have the images. Because your website would go through the home page, and then from home page, whatever you are giving, it would access those links. So in my opinion, inside the
Yes,
index.html
yes.
website,
That
uh, yeah, include the other paths or whatever you are, whatever you are having
folder
as
path
other,
actually. Folder
yeah,
path.
folder.
What to mention?
Yeah,
You have to
hope
mention,
that,
otherwise it will not access.
yes, yes. So you can try with that. Hope that would work for you.
Yeah, I will try.
Yeah, great. Let us know next time if it's working for you.
Yeah, I will try it next time. But I have created, there's so many times I have created one folder, and that one folder, my static website is there. In that folder, multiple pages are there, multiple, matlab index page
Mm-hmm.
are there, JavaScript pages
Mm-hmm.
are there, and my images are there. But whenever I am accessing this public access is also enabled, and index document, I have mentioned index.html page. But whenever I'm
Yes.
accessing, my website is not accessible. That's why I'm asking this error.
Okay.
If I
One more
You
created
thing.
have to
outside the
mention the
folder,
path.
if I created outside the
It is visible,
folder
yeah. Outside the
index.html,
folder, it is visible.
is visible,
It is visible.
but inside is not
Uh,
visible. So how I mention the path? So that's my question is. Uh,
yeah, yeah. So, suppose you have folder maybe with the name folder one, and then inside that you have your objects. So, when you go to the objects, it would show the complete path, like Rahul is also showing on the screen. So, yes. So this is the way you have to give the path because that would include your subfolder as well.
So here you can see this is my demo bucket 2023.sc.uswest2.amazon aws.com. This is the bucket. Again, after this, whatever you want to access, you have to give the path. Okay. So this is the object URL that we have received here. Okay. Now, if you have an index file, so it will be index.html here that is available.
But sir, why would
Uh,
mention that path so that we can access that folder inside the folder content, whatever is there, index.html, whatever the images is there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why will that? Yeah, why will they mention that path so that we can access the content of this?
yes, you
So
have to
basic.
give in that way. Yeah. In fact, I am just checking some good links, and then I would put on the chat so you guys can refer that also while working on this website part. Yeah, others, any questions, please go ahead.
So Harish is asking, like, if bucket is not public, how we can get the object? How we can
Cloud
secure our content located in S3 bucket? Yeah. So
Cloud
like content can be secure by by default the content is encrypted. Okay. Again, like if you don't want to make your bucket public and if you want to share the object, so in that case you can share this object with limited access privilege. Okay. So in S3 we have something known as in object level permission where access control list is something that we can define. Okay. So object owner who can access. Okay. So this is something that we can modify. So object access control list is something that we can define here. Or we also have public settings that we can block for, and then we can use ACL. Okay, control list. So these are the options that are available that we can use. So without making bucket publicly accessible, you can also give limited access. So in this way, you can protect your data. And these are different options that are available. Block all public access, block public access to buckets and object granted through new SEL, any access control list. So these are some options that are available. So we have 10 more minutes. If you have any question, you can ask.
I'm sharing some links for that S3 website question. And 1 minute. Here I have shown you the link, which is actually Amazon white papers. And they are telling here that if you are creating the subfolders, Then at each subfolder, you should have index.html. So at each subfolder, you should have the same index.html. Document should be there. That is one thing. I am finding out some more papers as well. So there are some links from on that Stack Overflow as well. And there they are recommending to use CloudFront as well. I'm just finding out.
If a bucket is not publicly accessible, we use CloudFront, right? That's fine. I recommend it.
Okay.
CloudFront is basically content delivery network. Okay. So like suppose, for example, if your S3 bucket is hosted in India region, and the users who are accessing your S3 bucket is from US region, okay, so they will face some latency, some delay to get the content. But if you are using CloudFront distribution network, okay, CDN, so in that case, the first request will be have the same latency, but the next request or the subsequent requests that are coming from the US region will have lower latency as compared to the first request. So that is the purpose of CloudFront distribution network, to improve the performance of your website.
In CloudFront, in that case, we can use the public bucket also. That is mentioned there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, in fact, another link I'm sharing, and that is from the AWS repost. So AWS repost, in any of you can access that. It is like kind of assisting portal, which for any question you can put up here, and experts from AWS answer that question. So here also they are referring basically through the CloudFront. So create a CloudFront and then give S3 bucket as the origin of the CloudFront. So you can try these different solutions. Hope something would definitely work for you.
Yes, ma'am, that we can use a CloudFront to access the S3 bucket. But our question is inside S3 bucket, if you are creating any folders or folder, how will access that one? That is the main question.
Right. Yes, yes, I got your question. And with respect to your issue, they are also mentioning about the CloudFront. I know the reason for the CloudFront, the purpose of CloudFront, but yeah, this would also help you to solve your issue. Just try to add index.html at each level. So if you have subfolders, please add index.html at each level, at each subfolder. That would help.
So code is repeating all the time. Text to testing code is repeating all the folders, right?
Yes, inside the folders itself, yes. Subfolders, yes. Any other questions? So we have last 4 minutes.
Yeah, I have actually.
Yes, yes,
It is
Lakshmi.
with respect to shared responsibility model. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
share
Yeah.
my screen. You just look into it because, according to my understanding, I thought the customer is the responsible for that scenario. But in Canvas, the answer for that is you can share my see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So here for this scenario, they have told that a customer has a web server running in a subnet of a VPC, and the web server accesses S3 bucket that the customer manages by using the AWS CLI and AWS Management Console, because they have customer manages both CLI as well as AWS Management Console. So
Mhm.
they have given some of the scenarios. So out of that, this one. So because the configuring the subnet anyhow, like the customer is going to build the subnet and all, it is fine. But here protecting the AWS management console, according to my understanding, I thought it is customer. The customer is responsible. But the answer for this is AWS. So can you just tell how AWS is responsible? Because management console means protecting the management console means the user ID and password the customer is going to give, or he can enable the MFA also, multi-factor authentication also, right?
Yeah. Okay, scroll little up. Okay, wait, wait, wait. I want to read the question also. Little down, little down.
Okay.
Consider the deployment described for scenario 2. Who is responsible for the following task? So scenario 2 is that through console or through CLI. Okay, we are accessing the server and we have S3 bucket here. Web server access and S3 bucket that customer manages by using CLI or console. Okay, now scroll down.
So the question is protecting the AWS management console. So obviously the customer can protect the AWS management console using his username and password, or like extra layer, like he can keep using the MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So according to that understanding, I thought it is the answer for this is customer, but here they have mentioned it as AWS is responsible.
Can I help here or can I just share my suggestion?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Tenzin, yeah.
Yeah, so here what I understand is Management Console is a web application. It's an AWS web application. So AWS
Yes.
handles his web application, and we as a customer are responsible for our own account data.
Yes,
So
yes.
that are two
Also,
separate things. Yeah.
correct, correct, Tanzim. Even I was about to talk about it. So yes, so AWS console is like it's the application created by Amazon itself, and
Mm-hmm.
it's in their control to protect it and how they are creating, designing, whatever they are doing. And our role here is that we are protecting our own account as the owner of the account. So that would be our responsibility. But yeah, console, complete management console would be, of course, the AWS.
Okay, so you have to like consider the complete management console, not with respect to the account.
True, true. So
Okay.
if the terms would be here protecting AWS account or root account, something like that, then
Mhm.
definitely that would be the other scenario. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, fine, fine. Because like they had mentioned, no, like the customer manages by using CLI as well as AWS Management Console. So even this point
Yes.
also, like I thought of customer only. Okay,
Yeah,
fine
it's
then.
a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky, no, no doubt in that. Yeah, anybody
Okay, okay.
can get
Yeah, yeah.
confused.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Sure, no worries.
Yeah.
So Rajat has a question about resources for submitting. Okay. Yeah, sure, we can share. Rahul or me, anyone can share that.
Yes, yes. I'm just looking for that.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, so we would share soon. We are just looking to it. And apart from that, any other question? Because now time is also up. Um, Maybe any last question if someone has. And yeah, apart from that, I hope everyone is able to access Canvas, your modules, any issues regarding accessing knowledge checks or your modules, specifically for the week one, because it would lock actually it would keep on unlocking based on your completion. So as of now, it is just week one. So I assume that everyone is able to access Canvas without any issues for module one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Great. Awesome. Yeah. So
Just
I
feel free
think,
to, yeah,
yeah, Rahul.
feel free to write,
Uh,
feel free to write your queries on mail on Canvas if you
Yes.
have any. If you are performing any of the lab, you are stuck. So feel free to write.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah. So don't be shy for any kind of questions or issues, because you should not be like stucking at some point and then not asking. It's good if you go with the flow and then week by week keep on finishing your content, knowledge checks, assignments, everything, labs, and make sure you are sending emails to all the instructors. So, as Raj also told during the orientation, so copy to all instructors whatever mail you are sending so that any one of us could would reply on it. Okay, so we are good to go. I think good to wind up. So see you next week, and next week would be next year as well. So wish you all a happy new year, and then see you in the new year for the next session.
Thank you, ma'am. Happy
Thank
New Year,
you, and
ma'am. Happy
same
New
to
Thank
you.
you.
Year.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Happy New
and
Year.
same to you.
See you next year. Take care. Bye.
Bye,
Yeah,
sir.
Bye, sir.
thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, bye everyone.